Today we're drafting on one of my favorite sites. Don't tell the other sites. We like everybody in best ball. But one of my favorite sites that doesn't get enough credit in the entire best ball space, doing something totally different, totally new, totally unique in the entire best ball space with cumulative scoring, different rosters, different player scoring, all sorts of fun stuff. It's drafters.com. We're also going to be giving away a free ticket to their $20 best ball championship tournament, which is $1 million prize pool, $250,000 to first place on Drafters. And today we're hopping in a draft. We're going to fill this puppy. And we're going to see maybe one of us can win $250,000 today live on this stream. All right, guys, let's do this. Let's do this thing. I already entered. If you're watching and you would like to join this draft, I already entered. I'm out in front of the chaos. 5 more. We just need 5 more to enter this. Again, $20 Drafters Million NFL Best Ball Championship. We've done one of these. Looks like we need 4 more. Now, we've done one of these drafters drafts here on this stream. We did some of their early best ball championship, and we've talked about drafters a fair bit, but I wanted to specifically draft here in this tournament today because yesterday, if you watched the best ball theory episode, I talked a lot about the entire theme of the episode was specific strategy for specific tournaments and specific sites, and how do we go about navigating the waters of this insane best ball space that has so many different options. Every site is different. Every even within specific sites, the tournaments can be different, right? Talked a lot about yesterday, the puppy versus Best Ball Mania 3 on Underdog, and just how different the strategies probably should be for each person within the different tournaments. And this one on Drafters specifically is probably the most different. The most different. Before we dive into that, I am going to post in the Discord, need 4 more for Drafters stream. Got to do the typical promotion here. Let me tweet this out. This is always my favorite. This is always the best streaming. I'm sure this is the thing you're most interested in, is me like typing out tweets and reading them out loud. I'm sure that's always the most fun for everybody. But an important aspect of getting this filled so we can actually all draft it on stream. All right, 4 more for drafters. All right, so drafters is, like I said, maybe kind of the most unheralded aspect of the entire best ball space, and that's what I love about it. There's, we love to applaud Underdog for trying different things, and I certainly love to applaud Underdog for trying different things and unique tournaments, unique structures. They did Superflex and all of that, but Drafters has a format that is much different than every other, right? If you listen to every single probably stream that I'll do this entire summer, it's talking about week 17, right? Constantly talking about like week 17 and how important that is, correlating for week 17, right? Our good friend Peter Overzet just did a 2 more, by the way. And yes, Best Ball Moderate, there is a promo code, and it is SPIKE. And I'm going to put it up on the screen. Promo code SPIKE on Drafters, and you will get a free ticket. If you use promo code SPIKE, you'll get a free ticket into this tournament with just a $10 deposit. So literally deposit $10 and you get a free $20 entry. Pretty good deposit bonus they have going. Now I already forgot what I was talking about with Drafters. Let's just see if we can get this puppy filled, eh? I think you guys have probably heard me talk about it quite a bit with them. But if you are unfamiliar, and if this is the first time you're watching something to do with Drafters, so it is a cumulative scoring format tournament. As you see here on the screen, schedule, week 1 through 17, no playoffs, exclamation point. There is no worrying about week 17. There's no advance rates. There's no any of that. In this specific tournament, you draft your team, you compete against 55,000. All these guys. You compete against all these people. 55,008 entries into this tournament. Once you draft your team, you compete against those. All of them. You obviously draft just within your 12-man draft, but 12-person draft. But you compete total raw cumulative points from week 1 to week 17 against all 55,000 other people that draft into this tournament. So that's important to know, right? I did talk a little bit yesterday on the show. If you have not watched, one more, if you're watching, we just need one more to fill this draft. It'd be pretty sweet to fill to fill a 12-man draft on, if anybody knows that's played on Drafters, it's not all that easy to fill one of these. So it'd be pretty sweet to fill a zero filled tournament. I think you just did, David. For the audio listeners, I'm not doing that which shall not be named. Voldemort, that's Rob's job, not for me. But thank you, Tony and David, for doing the Voldemort for me, so I don't have to do it. And again, Best Ball Moderate says, if you need a deposit, even if you miss this draft, if you need to deposit on Drafters, we got you. Free $20. So free ticket into this tournament, right? And it's full. So it just filled. So while we're hopping in here, and I have the 102, which I'm pretty excited for. Trying to look. I always love our good friend Updog is in here. Flea, Lemmings. I don't know if I know Pluston, obviously Best Ball Nation, Tony. Never draft running backs, so good. This is certainly a friends and family draft. However, the thing I was terrible. I think I mentioned this too. I was horrible on Drafters last year. Straight up terrible. Awful. Like min cashed 2 teams out of like 25 or 30. Like legit horrible. Didn't know what I was doing with the cumulative format. Was just coming over from drafting on DraftKings and Underdog, and just like kind of doing the same thing, drafting the same players, drafting the same structures, and I was bad. And on those other sites, I had a good year. I had a really good year. Had one of the best teams on Underdog, like that existed. Really good advance rates, despite some really bad, some like really legitimately bad player takes. Had good years. Had a horrible year on Drafters last year. So anything I say is certainly not coming from I know everything angle. But what I will say is that kind of experience, I felt like I learned a lot, and I'm excited to kind of tackle this platform this year, because I do think a lot of people have that problem too, of you just come on to Drafters, you draft the same guys you're drafting on Underdog, DraftKings, whatever, in the same structures, and the cumulative thing and full PPR. It's this hybrid between the two from a scoring perspective, right? It is full PPR and it is 20 rounds. So that's very much like DraftKings, but there are no bonuses for yardage like there are on DraftKings. So it's kind of a little, so JT goes, and this is where in full PPR, I do really like, certainly still do like Christian McCaffrey, but I'm taking Cooper Kupp, 102. He's actually my 101 here in full PPR. I think there's absolutely a case to be made for Christian McCaffrey too, but I prefer Cooper Kupp personally. David asks, so on drafters, since it's cumulative points, do we just not give a shit about stacks and correlation, just values all day? I would say no to that. What I would say is we don't care about, week 17 correlation, and we don't want to go wild and crazy stacking, but we also do want like the upside that comes with week to week correlation and being in on specific teams, right? So think last year, Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp, right? If Cooper Kupp is having 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, well, that's 150 yards and 2 touchdowns that Matthew Stafford had and threw to him. So their weekly upside is also correlated. And that's kind of, the thing that we almost take for granted on the other sites, where we're certainly targeting the stacking, but it's always viewed through the lens of, when I get to the playoffs, I need the stack for that weekly upside. Well, if we need the stack for the weekly upside in the playoffs, the weekly upside also exists throughout the entire year. And if one guy has a big season, someone that he's correlated with positively is also more likely than to have, a big season or big weeks or whatever. And so I definitely still want to be correlating my teams. This is a different kind of correlation, right? It will probably come up later in this draft where I'll say, so-and-so plays somebody in week 17, because it's so ingrained in my brain from the other sites. But obviously that does not matter at all. I just got done walking the dogs again. I'm trying to make it a routine. Walking the dogs before the Friday streams, and it's getting hot outside. I don't know if you can see it. I'm still sweating. I'm struggling actually a little bit. We're in on the cardio club thing, and I'm old, and it's not particularly easy to up your cardio at any moment. So this is I don't really like Kamara. I think I made that known fairly emphatically. We're going to turn this into a 0 RB team, I think, unfortunately. I am actually going to take Tyreek Hill. I know there's a lot of people are really down on Tyreek Hill. And I mean, he's a 2-3 turn pick. So how down is everybody really on Tyreek Hill? But I'm pretty fascinated by the fact that one of the best wide receivers and one of the highest upside wide receivers in the NFL is now going more at the 2-3 turn, solely because of Tua as opposed to Mahomes. And Devontae Adams' ADP didn't change, playing with Derek Carr instead of Aaron Rodgers, but Tyreek Hill lost half a round or whatever in ADP. So it's pretty interesting. I'm trying to get a little bit of Tyreek Hill. Not anything crazy, but he's Tyreek Hill. Like, if he gets open, we have this idea, and now I am going to take T. Higgins here. And this does set up one interesting, great point, Paul. Excellent point. Well, we don't. Do you know that for sure yet? Have they showered together? Paul V says Tyreek hasn't showered with Tua. I mean, they are practicing together now. So, like, before voluntary OTAs, they definitely hadn't showered together, as far as I know. But now, probably, they have. There's all sorts of reports. I love the reporting that's coming out of Miami, because we obviously had the one video clip of Tua like underthrowing Tyreek, right? Everybody's probably aware of that if you're watching this a week or 2 weeks ago or whatever it was. And now all the reporting is like every time they connect on a deep ball in practice, somebody reports it. And not only that, they're putting like the amount of air yards that the pass was. They're like, it was this was actually true. I'm not making this up for memes. There was a 69-yard touchdown that Tua threw 55 yards in the air, like perfect over Tyreek's shoulder, and he was covered and all that kind of stuff. And they made sure to put out it was a 69-yard touchdown, but it was 55 air yards. The reporters are now putting out like just so everyone knows this stuff you're worried about with Tua's arm. We want to make sure to caveat it. David says I have 0 Tyreek Hill. He's definitely not like I'm certainly not overweight on Tyreek Hill, but I feel like he's getting a little bit of a raw shake, you know what I mean? Where he's still Tyreek Hill, and Tua is not Sam Darnold. Like everybody's making him out to be absolutely terrible. And we don't know that. We really don't know how good he was, how good he is, how good he even was last year. And so I wasn't taking very much Tyreek Hill at all at the very start of draft season, but I'm trying to come around and kind of rectify that a little bit. Let's see here. I assume this is Rullet. RU11ET, Rullet. If your QB is going to be one of the best QBs to draft, good chances top receivers are going to have good seasons. Bingo. Totally agree. 100%. Erik B. But Erik with a C. What's your last name? Because I'm Erik B. There's a lot of Eriks already in this chat, but there can only be one Erik B. But Erik B says Hill is a steal. There. I was going to get into this. We'll get into this for sure at this turn. I'm about to be up. I am on deck. But GA says, and Pete says you can't do 0 RB in these live drafts. I don't know if you're referring to drafters specifically, but it is a good segue into the fact that naturally these drafts are not particularly ideal on drafters for 0 RB, generally speaking, right? Just adding some guys to the queue. I care a little bit less, honestly, about if you guys are seeing what I'm doing here. I am going to take Cortland Sutton. Did I miss the fact that, yeah, Judy went. Okay, so Sutton. As it pertains to the cumulative scoring, the other Erik B says, I'm the original Erik B. It's true. You are the original ERIC B. I agree. Mine is spelled with a K. So you can have the original ERIC B. But I do still think you can win this tournament with 0 RB. Maybe not the same kind of 0 RB you might win with in Underdog or whatever. This is very much not a quarterback heavy draft. So I am just going to keep on keeping on with this wide receiver heavy start. I do still believe you can win in the cumulative scoring. And I think that's a big thing that people talk about that is kind of BS, is like, oh, you can't win with 0 RB on drafters. I do agree it's more difficult to win with 0 RB on drafter because you need to score the most points in this entire tournament. Meaning week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, you need to have running back points, like real running back points, not just the bullshit 10 points like we talk about like on Underdog. Oh, just get me by. Keep me in the running during those weeks. I need real running back points. One thing that is important to keep in mind at this point in the summer, I might be a little less interested in drafting 0 RB teams the week before the season starts on drafters because I don't have the full off season of variance and chaos, right? Injuries, the Eli Mitchell thing coming out of nowhere, those certain situations, I don't have the benefit of those playing out in my favor over the course of the offseason. To help turn what might be a 6th round, 7th round, 8th round, 12th round running back into an extreme value, right? If you drafted a 0 RB team that had Darrell Henderson and James Robinson and what could have been like Gus Edwards last year, to where you benefited from, and maybe you were smart enough in a 20-round draft to take Eli Mitchell. If you drafted all of that, you could have just crushed with a 0 RB team, particularly with how low scoring running back was, right? So if running back continues to be as low scoring as it was last year, maybe that's just like a league-wide trend, right? The days of LaDainian Tomlinson and old school Christian McCaffrey and Le'Veon Bell and David Johnson, maybe they're gone. And we are seeing many, many, many fewer workhorse roles, right? Why does someone like Najee Harris go in the first round despite being wildly inefficient, catching a bunch of 1-yard passes and 0 big plays in the running game, etc.? It's because he's a workhorse, and those don't really exist. Jonathan Taylor is the 101, and he's not a workhorse. He doesn't play more than like 70% of the snaps. He loses passing down snaps. That didn't used to exist. The 101, 102, 103 always has been this like workhorse type role. So I do think, with all that being said, 0 RB can be a little bit more beneficial, again, particularly at this point in the offseason. I'm not like seeking it out. I'm not seeking any particular structure out in any draft, but I think it's a little bit of a fake narrative, that fake news, if you will, that you can't draft 0 RB teams. I am gonna start looking at the queue up a few running backs. Devin Singletary goes 80th overall here, and he goes like in the 100s on other sites, which is pretty funny. I do think there are some nice values. Let me look here. I'll take Eli Mitchell. That's fine. I don't really like him, but I haven't taken very much Eli Mitchell. So why not? Tony says, whoa, whoa, whoa. Calm down this Najee talk. I agree. Best Ball Moderate says, I think 0 RB is more viable on full PPR. Definitely agree. The problem is not the full PPR aspect in terms of drafters. The problem is I need week 1, 2, 3, 4, right? 0 RB capitalizes on the chaos and fragility of that position over the course of an NFL season. And week 1, now I am going to take Miles Sanders here. And so here's this draft is a really interesting and fun example of how you might be able to do a 0 RB team on drafters, right? So you see here, I'm here in this column, second column. I draft Cooper Kupp, Tyreek Hill, T. Higgins, Cortland Sutton, and Gabriel Davis. I get the wide receiver 1, Tyreek freaking Hill, the wide receiver 2 on the Bengals elite offense, wide receiver 1/2 on the Broncos, an offense I'm really excited about, Gabe Davis, young, exciting wide receiver 2 on the Bills, another elite offense. And then you come back, you have all this wide receiver firepower, and you hit, I don't even honestly particularly love Eli Mitchell, but you get the lead running back. I actually really like Tyrion Davis-Price, but you get the lead running back on the San Francisco 49ers, who always produce awesome running backs, even in timeshares. And then you get Miles Sanders, the lead running back on the Eagles, and an offense we're excited about with another running quarterback. And you're able to kind of piece together still, like, I'm getting Eli Mitchell and Miles Sanders points out of the gate. right? And who's to say those guys don't outscore? I mean, there's people taking Cam Akers. You see Antonio Gibson here on the screen. I like Travis Etienne, but is Travis Etienne that much better than those guys? I like James Conner as well. Same issue. And on down the list. So I do think, as you see here, there are ways to implement zero RB on drafters that make sense. Now, I'm more willing on Underdog to really push zero RB, even more than maybe some other zero RB zealots will be willing to push. Like it'll be double digit rounds before I take my first running back sometimes. I think you're drawing way too thin here, probably on drafters to do that. And there's this nice archetypes in the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th round that fit for drafters and can allow you to still win this tournament without an early round running back. Let me see. Yeah, Sershibe, it's very unfortunate. Obviously, I was hoping for Trey Lance, and Fenway Andy here out of the 5 spot takes Trey Lance 77th overall in the 7th round before Jalen Hurts, before Joe Burrow, before Dak, Brady, and Russ. So that sucked. The real Erik B says, I really like all your receivers. Insane start. It is a pretty insane start. Somebody did mention, GA said, yeah. GA said, I have trouble clicking Sutton at that price. I kind of agree. So it's two almost like colliding thoughts, if you will, on like Sutton and Judy. In the median, basically none of these Broncos, you can project them to pay off these prices. But someone on the Broncos, probably multiple people, are going to crush these prices. Whether it's Javonte, Judy, Sutton, Alberto, Melvin, Tim Patrick, KJ Hamler, Greg Dulcich, whoever, someone is going to crush their prices. We just don't know who. So that's the issue with them. Not quite as much just like general price. What's quarterback looking? Oh my Lord. Quarterback and tight end are really bad. Oof. We're in trouble here, guys. I think I don't really like CPAT here, but I think we're gonna take CPAT. Another kind of veteran pass catcher. What is that? 95th overall round after ADP. We'll take him. He fits the structure. We're in a tough range here. We are in a tough range. We're gonna put some of these young. Oh, this is what I gotta do here. Shout out Olave. I really like Olave, but we're taking MVS. And what this is gonna turn into, I can almost assuredly tell you what this is gonna turn into is a 3 quarterback, 3 tight end team. So that's also why it's important to take all this early, like once you see, right? I went and looked at quarterback and I went and looked at tight end. You saw me look at those 2 positions. And I see that Kirk Cousins, Deshaun Watson, Tua, Fields, Lawrence are the best quarterbacks available. I go to tight end. I see Ertz, Gronk, Alberto, Gesicki. Those are the best tight ends available. None of those guys are like that. I got to jump out. I got to jump at the screen to grab those guys and put them onto my team. So I'm just going to stockpile this running back and wide receiver quality, knowing that I'm just going to take extra volume at those positions. Would I prefer to have an elite quarterback and an elite tight end, particularly in the drafters cumulative scoring format? Of course. It doesn't mean I can't win through volume at those positions. I just have to know ahead of time that I'm planning for it. GA says, what's wrong with Nuke? Well, it's cumulative scoring. I need 17 weeks of scoring from my team to win the format, and he's suspended for 6 games. I can't get I physically cannot get the first 6 weeks of games. God forbid if he misses any more games. So this format in particular, I'm willing to play the ADP game with Nuke on Underdog and probably especially on DraftKings and see when I can get him to fall and he fits into certain teams. On drafters, if you go look, pumping some spike week stuff. If you go look at the drafters rankings, he's like buried absolutely buried. And this ADP, in my opinion, is sorry to Updog who just took him in the 9th round. I think he's like a 14th, 15th round pick in this format. And I'm ballparking, so I don't know if you want to argue he's a 12th round pick or whatever. I think that's fine. I don't think you can take DeAndre Hopkins in the 9th round in this format. Just my opinion. He's also, yeah, as David says, he's also old. This isn't like had Jerry Jeudy gotten suspended, where it's a young player. He's like he already showed signs of declining last year. They brought in Hollywood. They have Rondale. They have Zach Ertz. It's also possible that he's just not that great of a fantasy asset anymore. Old, aging wide receiver who now is suspended for 6 weeks, and they brought in a whole lot more target competition for him. So I've buried him. This is a fair point, and I did not know this was you, by the way. Shout out to Updog, who's an awesome member of the Discord community. I didn't know this was your YouTube. That's so funny. All this time, a year, and I didn't know that this was your YouTube handle. That's really funny, but that's totally fair. But that's kind of my point, is that I think he's going to keep falling, and he should keep falling. If this is the lowest he's gone, he needs to go much further outside the top 100 for me. I think this is great comment from Paul. This is interesting though. We had such an insane QB run there, probably sparked by Fenway Andy. If you're watching, I apologize. Probably sparked by this asshole drafting Trey Lance in the 7th round. We get this QB run where all these guys go, and then no one takes a quarterback for 2.5 rounds. So, but that's a good thing for me, I think. I do need to look at tight end. This is where I admittedly actually kind of struggle a little bit. I actually really like Jacoby Myers in this format. With the contingent, I'm going to take Rachaad White because I want a little bit of pure ceiling at running back mixed in. Maybe a smidge early. I don't know. I can't remember where exactly his ADP sits, like on Underdog and DraftKings. But that's something I talk a lot about archetypes, right? Like mixing and matching archetypes. And like I draft a 0 RB team here. So I've got, right, Miles Sanders, Eli Mitchell, CPAP. None of those guys are going to be like true stone cold RB1s. I might kick the can down the road still. Actually, I lied. I also want some upside at tight end, and so I'm going to take Alberto. Little, again, relative to Underdog and DraftKings, a little early from an ADP perspective, but you have to play the ADP game on the site that you're on. And I do want a little bit of like pure ceiling, right? There's not a lot of these tight ends that we're going to run into here. Like I like Pat Freiermuth. I like Hunter Henry. I like Cole Kmet. I like Njoku. I like all these guys. These guys aren't going to be the tight end 2 or the tight end 3. Alberto has a ceiling within his range of outcomes that I in my opinion, none of these other guys really have. So I like to, when I know I'm taking volume at the position, I still do like to mix in the upside shot, right? So like we're going to get to quarterback. Obviously Cousins, Watson, Fields all go. So maybe I should have hit quarterback there at that turn. But, right, so like say whatever you want about the Daniel Joneses of the world. I need to mix those kind of guys into this structure. I can't just take Mac Jones and Matt Ryan and Kenny Pickett. Like I can't just take these. Maybe Kenny Pickett's not a good example. Davis Mills, these pocket passing, right? I can draft some of those guys for sure, particularly if I have a stack with them. But you do have to still mix in a little bit of the upside archetype in this structure. So the real Erik B said he was drafting Hopkins if he made it. David says it's also a question of structure. When you're going zero RB and pushing quarterback and tight end down, you need the wide receivers to keep you afloat. Hopkins doesn't fit that mold. I have nothing to add. I totally agree. Nothing to add. Sorry, I had to text the wife back. Yeah, see, I don't think so. I don't think the suspension. Eric says I think the suspension cost is baked in there. I can understand that perspective for sure, but at pick 100, like a give or take around pick 100, like look at who's going. Like first round rookies. I really like MVS. I'm biased, right? Like good, good picks that are contributing are going at that spot. I gotta just click some guys into the old queue here. I actually do think I need to take Zach Wilson. Again, you got to build in a little bit of upside archetype for you in this structure, and I certainly am not a Zach Wilson stan. Not particularly excited about the prospects of Zach Wilson, but with all the weapons that he has, with the rushing ability, with the coaching staff too, there's upside in there. Obviously, Lemmings took Daniel Jones right in front of me, so we're hurting a little bit at quarterback. You're watching me bleed money based on my quarterback selections here. Tight end looks okay. Running back looks okay. I'll be honest with you. I also think I just have to take Jameson Williams here. Similar concerns to like we just talked about with DeAndre Hopkins in terms of early season production, but I get him as a rookie, first round pick, 13th overall. I get him 40 picks later, and as my wide receiver, trying to pull it up here. 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's my wide receiver 7. So kind of trying to mix and match, build in a little bit of that upside as the season goes on. And if you guys know me, you also know I'm admittedly a Jameson Williams stan and homer. Eric says I can't bring myself to draft Watson. I assume Deshaun Watson. I am also the same way. I get it. If you want to bet on the scenario where he doesn't get suspended or blah blah blah, totally get it. I have not been drafting him. I thought I missed something. 0 RB on Underdog is a great strategy this year. One, top RBs are all old, except a couple. 100%. We covered that also. If you missed the Wednesday Best Ball Bros episode with Pat Carine, so good. Pat is so smart. I love listening to Pat's takes, analysis, everything. It makes me just so much of a better player listening to Pat. And that was one of the things he talked about, that he did a research last year about a multi-part article about when we're drafting running backs early in drafts, right? First 2 rounds, let's call it. We need to be targeting the guys with what quote unquote legendary upside. And what does that mean? He went into it, right? He defined what the whole legendary upside means, but then he defined kind of the parameters in which we can generally find the players that have the legendary upside. And the big thing that he talked about on Wednesday that people took a lot of stuff from that article because it was really good. Maybe the big thing that applies to this year from that piece was that it's generally young guys like 25 and under that are the legendary upside running backs. And this year, to Eric's point and what Pat said on Wednesday, so many of the early running backs are old. Like not even just like older than 25, like old, like Derrick Henry is old. like very old. Christian McCaffrey's actually older than 25, right? Like Alvin Kamara's old. Dalvin Cook is old. Austin Eckler's not that young. Like a lot of these guys are old. And so that makes things really interesting. We're in this weird pocket of NFL time where it's like all the lead running backs are like 26, 27, 28, 30 years old. All right, back on me. Obviously, nobody left on my queue. I do like Gerald Everett. Actually, quite a bit. I like Gerald Everett. Let's look at quarterback because I'm about to get frickin', oh my lord. I am about to get locked out of quarterback. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to take Gerald Everett because I'm panicking under the under the gun here. I really hate these quarterbacks. Oh, and there goes Matt Ryan. I think I have to. Let me think about this. So I have Zach Wilson. I am gonna take Wentz. I don't really like Wentz, but that's okay. Not great options to stack with Wentz. Logan Thomas might come back to me. Curtis Samuel might come back to me, so that's good. I do really like Gerald Everett, and honestly, Alberto, Gerald Everett, and somebody else at tight end is pretty cool. But this room has killed me at quarterback. So David says Tannehill over Wentz easy. So that's I have no issue with that take either. Except I have a stance on the Titans that I'm taking, and it is that you remove AJ Brown from you have an aging Derrick Henry, continually getting worse offensive line. You remove one of the best wide receivers in the NFL and replace him with a rookie who can't even get through practice, and a veteran with a torn ACL, coming off a torn ACL in Robert Woods. And I think the Titans offense is just something I'm avoiding, like almost entirely. If you want to talk me into Hassan Haskins or whatever, I think I mentioned also on Wednesday, the show with Pat, and something I talked about on ship chasing last year was like offenses that I would call like a house of cards. That like it's not that there's not potential, right? If it stays up, it stays up. If you're able to put it all together and nothing happens, it stays up. But it's so fragile, it could really easily fall down, right? Somebody walks past it too fast. Over. House of cards. The Titans are pretty much like that. Like this could go bad, really bad for the Titans. And Tannehill has been reliant upon 100% efficiency. And a lot of that efficiency comes from having A.J. Brown on the team. What if now it's reliant upon Treylon Burks to be A.J. Brown if Ryan Tannehill is going to be that good. And Derrick Henry helps make that offense more efficient. Derrick Henry's presence helps make Tannehill. Derrick Henry's getting old, right? We just talked about that. So I'm kind of out on Tannehill. I haven't drafted him at all on any site. Yes. Question is, you like Mariota or Pickett as a late round flyer? I don't know if you're asking me to pick between the two. I would probably choose Pickett. But I like both. I like both just fine. I am going to queue up some of these quarterbacks just in case something happens. I get a quarterback. I'm going to look at running back as well. Woof. Running back is not great. Oh, okay. So I'm pretty sure. Hold on. I just want to double check that. Ooh. I don't think the one spot is going to take Logan Thomas. So we're about to smash a double stack, backdoor Washington double stack for the win, as the kids say. And I think that'll be it for me at wide receiver. I don't really like Logan Thomas, but such is life. Let me move him up in the queue. Nothing like a 15, 16, 17 round Washington football stack. of their wide receiver 3 and old tight end coming off a serious knee injury, but fits the team. Let's go Washington. We actually talked about that in the Discord today. Myself and JXP, who shout out JXP. I love the Discord for so many reasons, but one is that there's so many smart people that we can have disagreements any day. We disagreed on like the Travis Etienne injury stuff. We can joke about it. We can whatever. My dog just let out some flatulence. It was extremely loud, so loud that I have my noise cancelers on, and I could still hear it. So I'm a little thrown. I'll be honest with you. And maybe that's a bad sign for Travis Etienne that just happened while I was trying to talk about him. However, I love the Spike Week Discord because we can talk about things like that, like Travis Etienne injury. What does that mean? Blah blah blah, and then come back the next day, and we a great member of the community, he and I can disagree, and then we come back today and we're like, yeah, but I kind of think the Commanders, I'm still going to call them the football team. I really much prefer the football team. It's a better name than Commanders. It's way better. So kind of think that the market is just really burying the Commanders. And like, are they like last year we were drafting Antonio Gibson in the second round, Terry McLaurin at the beginning of the third round, Logan Thomas in what? The 8th round, Curtis Samuel in the 10th, 11th round. Ryan Fitzpatrick was getting drafted. J.D. McKissick was getting drafted. De'Ami Brown was one of the like most steamed wide receivers in all drafts. We were smashing all of these Washington football team players, and now this year we're out. Antonio Gibson falls. Terry McLaurin goes in a somewhat similar range, but cheaper than before. I know Logan Thomas is coming off injury, but he is. I mean, I just took him in the 17th round. 10 rounds later than he went last year. Curtis Samuel goes in the 16th round. Jahan Dotson is the first round wide receiver pick that no one gives a shit about. No one is interested in Jahan Dotson. And I'm not like arguing about his archetype or whatever, but he's a first round pick wide receiver on a team with tons of available opportunity. And Carson Wentz has been buried, absolutely buried by the fantasy football community. And like, is he good? Is he great? Of course not. Of course not. But is Carson Wentz is not, Mason Rudolph, and everybody makes it out to believe like he's Mason Rudolph. He's not that bad. We bury the guys who are average to below average so fast. This actually happened to Derek Carr. I'm not saying Carson Wentz is Derek Carr, but Derek Carr was like an average NFL quarterback, let's call it. And because he was just average and then like he made mistakes, people just buried him. Absolutely buried him. And then look, a couple of years later, now he looks pretty good. Okay. Quarterback's bad here. Running back's bad. I do actually think this is a good team for James White. So we're going to put him at the top of the queue. Like I said, let me think about this. Quarterback and 2 running backs on this team. So I'm going to take James White. He fits this team. And I do want a little ceiling at running back here. I can't take Keontae. I can't give in to the Spike Week bros with Keontae. I'm just going to queue up a bunch of running backs. Because I don't know the late round ADP that well on running backs. I think we can wait for the last round. And then let me look here really quick. I just want to look at my team. No stack with Zach Wilson. That's unfortunate. Not going to have any, but I have to take Kenny Pickett as my 3rd quarterback. Not super fun, but when in Rome. I don't know if that applies, but sounded good. Exactly. Football team's a cool name. That's actually a banger at 15 through 18 if Dotson sucks, which we all believe. The dog disagrees. The consigliere, that is an excellent, excellent, excellent comment. Shout out to you. Don't hate this either. Consigliere also says if you have Pitt players, I like Trubisky as a fade on Pickett. I think that's fine. I think you can do both too. Because I'm also we don't need to talk about Mitch Trubisky. I talked about him so much in the off season. Jameson is a steal there. Jameson was a steal there, wasn't it? I know I'm a stan. I know I draft way too much Jameson Williams as it is because I mean he's from St. Louis, so like he's going to be good. We know that. But also I just am excited about the prospect. And for the 13th overall pick, rookie wide receiver, trust me, I understand the injury thing. To fall all the way to pick 146 in the 13th round is pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. Let's see. Any premiums on positions in this tournament? Quarterback yards, tight end premium. Excuse me. Touchdowns. Just heard about drafters. No, as Paul says in the chat, it's just full PPR. There are, if you're coming from DraftKings, there are no yardage bonuses, right? 300-yard bonus, 100-yard bonuses. There's none of that on drafters, and no funky scoring or anything like that. Just straight up normal full PPR on here on drafters. 100% football team was a cool name. 100% he's gone now. Obviously, thank you, Best Ball Moderate, but I'm very much on Chris Evans. Also, just realized I have Boston Scott as the only guy in the queue, and I already drafted. Shit. I already drafted Miles Sanders. This is bad. Oh boy, we're gonna take somebody gross here. I can feel it. I can feel it in my bones. We're gonna take somebody really gross here. God, this is bad. All right, here we go. You ready for the take? I just took Dontrell Hilliard for those listening on audio. Yeah, David says don't handcuff yourself, which is exactly what I was doing. But we talked. It was on top of my mind. We talked earlier about my Titans take, which was like House of Cards or whatever. So who benefits in this House of Cards scenario? If Derrick Henry is an injury risk and old and maybe getting less efficient and not going to play on passing downs, well, give me that pass catcher. Dontrell Hilliard was actually not that bad last year, both running and he played the receiving back role when Derrick Henry was out with Deonta Foreman. So I've drafted a little bit of Hilliard, mostly on DraftKings. I don't think I've taken him yet on Underdog. But actually, I think he makes sense here. If he's the passing down back on the Titans, right? So you mix in, as you see here on my screen, I'll zoom in a little bit. Let me zoom. As you see here, this team is not my favorite. not my favorite team I've ever drafted, but that's okay. Got totally locked out of quarterback and end up with Zach Wilson, Carson Wentz, and Kenny Pickett. It's a 0 running back team, but still get Eli Mitchell, so get the 49ers lead back, get the Eagles lead back, get this kind of weird hybrid player who does fit better in full PPR in Cordero Patterson, get Rachaad White, who was kind of the mixed in pure handcuff ceiling guy that I really needed on this team, right? I don't know that Eli Mitchell, Sanders, CPAT, and then the pass catchers that I took later, I don't know that they have the raw upside to help me win this tournament. I need Lenny to get hurt and Rachaad White to be, a top 5 running back, right, on this team. That's pretty much what this team is drawing to. At some point in the season, Mitchell, Sanders, maybe CPAT, James White, etc., can get me to that point with good enough scores, and I need Rachaad White to be the man. As Ant says, QBs are pretty ugly. I totally agree. Got locked out of quarterback. Such is life. Gonna need a borderline miracle on this team. from Zach Wilson, mainly from Zach Wilson or Kenny Pickett. Carson Wentz can help keep me afloat, and I have him stacked up right with Curtis Samuel and Logan Thomas. It didn't work out perfectly with stacks. It didn't work out perfectly with quarterbacks, but I actually feel fine about the running backs. Like you said, honestly, it's really just the not getting something with Zach Wilson because I was pressed at quarterback with where just where when it came to me needing some kind of upside archetype at the quarterback position, and Zach Wilson kind of being the last of that breed, and then just piecemealing it together at quarterback. But I mean, wide receiver, Cooper Kupp, Tyreek Hill, T. Higgins, Cortland Sutton, Gabriel Davis, MVS, Jameson Williams, and Curtis Samuel. That's upside at wide receiver. And honestly, Albert O, Gerald Everett, and Logan Thomas at tight end. I'm really cool with that. And running back, I'm pretty fine with that group of running backs. Too, the quarterback thing is what will make or break this team, obviously. But if you can get a Zach Wilson breakout, you can get a Kenny Pickett breakout. These kinds of teams, I do still think can do well. Wentz comeback season, a few years late. Wentz was once upon a time, many a year ago, the front runner for MVP on the Eagles. So, you just need him to recreate. What was that, 2018 or something like that? Question is, who do you think had the best draft? Great question. I haven't gone through all these teams, just looking really quickly. Scrolling. I mean, other than me, of course, because I always have the best draft. That's how, that's just how this shit works. Really like oh my gosh, this never draft RBs team here. Kind of flipping the script on what would be like a superhero running back team, and taking Breece Hall and taking Travis Etienne, and then getting other running backs that fit really well from an upside perspective, right? James Cook, pass catcher on an awesome offense. Rojo, ambiguous situation. Not going to catch a lot of passes, but he's on the Kansas City Chiefs. I love Deonta Foreman, and I love Chris Evans. That group of running backs is really fun, and you just need someone to break out, right? Out of any of those, and all of those guys are relevant, like breakout candidates. So you take the Stephon Diggs and CeeDee Lamb first, and then you move away from the more locked in running backs at the top of drafts, but you get the Diggs CeeDee start instead, and then you flip it over to Breece Etienne, and I think that's pretty fun. Getting Dak to CeeDee is nice. Getting Trevor Lawrence to Christian Kirk is nice. And even Ryan Tannehill to Robert Woods. I talked about my Titans hate, but I get it. It has Dak with Dalton Schultz as well. So Cowboys stack with some fun running backs, fun wide receivers. Pretty good team. I mean, he did draft the fourth wide receiver for the Jacksonville Jaguars in Laviska Shenault. I don't know why you wouldn't just take Zay Jones. That's oh my God. So now I know who this is. The real Erik B says that's his team. He is, for anyone that drafts on drafters and sees never draft RBs, that is Erik B's team. And shout out to you. It's a really good team. Except stop taking Laviska. Tony says no need to look at his, so we're going to look at it. I mean, Najee, shocker. Javonte, Josh Allen, Terry McLaurin, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Elijah Moore. Why is this not scrolling? Joe Burrow, Dawson Knox. I mean, at least you double tap both Seattle running backs at the 9-10 turn in rounds 9 and 10. Anytime you can draft two running backs who don't catch passes on what might be the worst offense in the NFL that probably won't score any points, and their defense stinks. So when there might actually be some fantasy points to be had, it's going to be another running back out there. Do that. Draft those guys. And Justin Fields. Good Lord, dude. Are you freaking auto picking? Why are you taking Justin Fields in the 11th round when you have Josh Allen and Joe Burrow on your team? mean, it's 5 o'clock here. I know you're in the same, so maybe you started early on the 5 o'clock weekend drinking. Good thing you won $1 million last year, Tony. Yeah, I think that's it. Everybody have you're working. Everybody have a freaking wonderful weekend. The weather outside here is beautiful. I hope it is the same for you everywhere. We're going to get out and enjoy it a little bit. And we'll be back as usual on Mondays, Monday evening, I believe 7 Eastern, 7 p.m. Eastern, with another draft, probably on Underdog this time. But I really enjoyed this drafters one, and I'm going to try to do a lot more Friday drafters drafts. Maybe we'll mix in some on Mondays too. But this was actually a lot of fun. I hate my team, and I hate you guys for doing that to me at the quarterback position, but it was still a lot of fun. Like I said, be back on Monday. Well, also, people have been asking in the Discord about the merch. I've teased some of the merch on Twitter, hats, shirts, all that kind of stuff. It's coming very, very soon. There's somebody helping me with the Shopify store. It's coming up very soon. And the tools that we're going to be launching are coming like really, really soon. We have a little tiny little bit of development left to do, and some I's to dot and T's to cross, and then we will be ready to rock and roll with some best ball tools. So I'm very excited. All that stuff is coming very soon. But until that all gets launched, enjoy your weekend. I will see you guys on Monday. And yeah, that's about it. See ya. Peace.